Morning, Michael. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. How are you?
Fine, thanks, Lauren. It's good to chat to you across the airwaves.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to chat to you as well. And I've been very excited to chat to you for a while with your ex-hotelier, passionate hospitality guru hat on, being ex-general manager of the Churchill in London, but also your current hat that you wear as UK chair of EHMA, European Hotel Managers Association. There's lots of things happening and lots of conversations being had at the moment, which I know we share some interesting thoughts on. This morning, and I know we're all waiting with bated breath for the PM's announcement of some sort of a road out next week. And this morning they announced that we're on day 332 of lockdown since the first one was announced, which is quite, gosh, it's like takes your breath away, quite a shocker. But everyone is hoping and waiting for a bit of hope for next week. And I know that you are passionate about people in our industry. We are a people industry. So I wondered, with all of this furlough, and some people have been on furlough now, like I say, for a very, very long time, what should industry leaders and hoteliers be thinking about when it comes to this releasing lockdown, engaging their staff and sort of looking after them in this next stage?
That's a great question, and in the hope that hospitality leaders have really, from day one of 332, have been addressing that. It's not something you can just switch on. Well, I suppose you can switch it on, but I think the stronger companies are going to be those that have engaged with their teams literally from day one. I've heard some wonderful stories of hoteliers who've literally videoed their messages every week through this almost a year, and I know that means an awful lot to the teams in keeping them engaged. So I think throughout all of this, communication has been the biggest key word to lock into and to make sure it happens throughout the company, particularly as we're talking about for teams and employees, but also from a marketing perspective, from the customers and guest perspective as well. But trying to care for the employees who've just been literally locked down, many of them, as you say, in furlough for so long, by continually giving them honest information, not being afraid to show the leader's vulnerability in trying to assess what to do for the future. I've always thought there's nothing wrong in saying, we don't know where we're going with this, but somehow we're going to get there. In other words, to give people hope in all of this, and to do away with arrogance, but replace it with humility and a bit of humbleness, saying we're all in this together, to try and empathize with your teams, albeit over Zoom, that what we're all going through, including the leader. The leader has that ultimate responsibility, and I think it does amazing things when a leader can display those things and just leave the employee at the end of the Zoom or the newsletter with a bit of hope and positiveness for the future. But it's a tough job being a leader. The toughest job is obviously the Prime Minister's, but in trying to deal with this. But it goes down to every business leader as to try and keep their teams together. And hopefully, if they've been communicating well all the time, hopefully we can ease back people into the workspace. And from what I hear from talking and seeing posts from industry colleagues, there was one yesterday from Andrew Graham at the Fish Hotel, and it was a lovely post. It was a lovely, I think it was on Twitter, and he was saying, he has down times in trying to handle this as a leader, but he met with his team and he was so overcome with their positivity that it buoyed him up. So it's it's a two-way thing, this. It's a balance between the leader and the teams, and each supporting each other. Communication is going to be the key. Customers are gagging to come back. You know, we all know there's a huge pent-up demand out there. So once we can be released, I think quickly the ramp will go up very, very quickly, and hopefully people will get back into the swing again. And the 332 days will be a distant memory soon, I hope.
Can't wait for that to be a reality. You're absolutely right. I think that's one of the interesting things that has definitely come out of this pandemic, is seeing vulnerable leaders, rather than them sort of having all the answers or standing on a soapbox down. It's been really good for businesses and employees to see that human element in leaders. And we're hoping for the future that that inspires others to become leaders, because like you say, it's very much a tough job, and there aren't always answers attached to it. So many don't aspire to it, because historically it has been a very sort of top-down type arrangement, where now it's very much, well, it's us together trying to figure it out. So that's maybe a positive that the 332 days has enabled. Fingers crossed.
I've been fascinated by seeing world leaders, how they are handling this. And the ones that stand out for me was Macron in France, where he famously did exactly that. He said, we've made mistakes, but we're going to get it right. And Jacinta Ardern in New Zealand, how sort of honest and straightforward, you know, these are. Not every leader has that sort of, I believe it's a natural attribute. It's a natural personality trait. And you've got it or you haven't got it. But if you haven't got it, you've got to try and learn from others that have, and go against perhaps natural tendencies for arrogance and we're better than anybody. And I think the wonderful thing about hospitality that displays that is, no matter where you are in hospitality, whether you're a 5-star deluxe or a B&B or a catering team, the support across hospitality has been amazing. This last year, competition hasn't existed. You know, each leader is helping another leader, even though they'll cut their throat for a piece of business. When it comes down to it, they will support fellow hospitality people. And of course, hospitality seems to have supported the country. I mean, when you think of all the hundreds of thousands of meals and help and assistance that's been given by hospitality to so many organizations, all at no cost. I mean, it's all at cost to the organization. You know, they haven't sought, you know, well, I need to be paid for that. They just get out there and they make coffee and they deliver meals, and we see it every day. Hospitality has been at the heart of trying to not solve the crisis we're in, but to mitigate the crisis we're in. And I think they've done it with heart and with empathy and caring, and let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, that's one of the biggest pieces I think that's come out of all of this is collaboration. And Bob Cotton always famously says, you know, back in the 80s and 90s, the industry worked together. They were competitive, but it was a collaborative environment, because it was a bigger picture piece, because it was about how important a role hospitality plays in people's lives and in society. So it's lovely to see that collaboration piece coming back into play, and that it isn't all just about cost and bottom line. There is a bigger piece around quality of life and around how essential hospitality and food provision is for everything, like we've seen, from hospitals to office spaces to schools to, it's the golden thread that runs through a lot. And I think it's going to play an even more important role as we come out of all of this, because I'm not sure we've seen the full impact of all of this yet. And hopefully the road out, there is going to be a road out. I'm sure it's going to be full of potholes and the occasional diverted sign, but there is hope. And I think that's exactly what we're all desperate for, is hope. But it's going to take us some time to come out. And even if we do have an amazing sort of summer staycation with everyone focused on supporting UK businesses, our industry is going to need a bit more help in the long term. And I wondered if you had any thoughts about what that could or should look like.
Sure, plenty of thoughts on that one. Number one, we need somebody who's shouting out for us, sitting at the cabinet table alongside the Prime Minister. You've no doubt heard of the Seat at the Table campaign, yes, which got, I think at last count, 208,000 signatures. And it's, I believe, taking traction now. The leaders behind that have met, I think, with Paul Scully, one of the two ministers who looks after hospitality. And I think the Prime Minister is engaged with it. But we desperately need somebody who understands our industry and can talk intimately about the industry. So certainly we need a Minister of Hospitality, or Tourism and Hotels and Hospitality, whatever it's going to be called. But we need somebody there who understands our industry and can speak up directly on behalf. Some practical things that we need at the moment is an extension of the 5% VAT reduction that is in place until April. That needs to be extended until at least through 2021, if not into 2022. That will help businesses. Business rate holiday to be extended, again, on the same parameters. Let's lessen the cost for businesses. A review of the grants that are available. Everybody is appreciative, hugely appreciative of the money that's been given to hospitality by the government. There's no doubt about that. The furlough scheme has been a real saviour. But again, furlough needs to be extended while the industry returns. A look at the grants that are made available. The last grant, which was I think in December or January, as one hotelier put it, well, it's fine, but it barely pays the heat, light and power bill. So realistic grants. Something that seems also to have dropped off the agenda, and I'd certainly like to bring it back, is why, oh why, is the service charge not included in the furlough payments? Staff declare their service charge payments. They pay tax on them, and yet for some reason they've been excluded from the furlough payment. So instead of getting 80% of your salary, people reliant on service charge are only getting about 50 or 60%. That is unfair and needs to be brought back on the table. I remember EP, you put together a great forum about this before actually it was just before the lockdown. Heard a very it was I think it was Fair Share, Tips and Trunks, and Peter Davis was the man who presented it, and I think it opened a lot of the eyes of a lot of the people who were attending that. And there needs to be a continued battle on getting service charge. That would make a big difference. And so they're the sort of practical things that need to be brought back in by government.
Yeah, and I suppose especially with there being still rumours, and it's how long is a piece of string, but there's still rumours around when we go back into winter and over the Christmas period, we might see additional lockdowns, or during this period of time over the next year, 2 years, it's COVID we have to live with. It's not going away. So the chance that there will be further disruptions is pretty reasonable. So these lessons learned from last year, we're definitely going to have to, like you say, get more support, and maybe having someone at the seat who does understand the implications of service charges, or the nuances in hospitality will help a heck of a lot in getting it, fit for purpose.
Right. And of course, we've now got the terrific and laudable and huge applause all round for the government for the vaccination program. I mean,
Absolutely.
who'd have thought this, that here we are, we've reached that target of 15 million. This is one hell of an achievement. And this should be viewed alongside their decisions of how to reopen hospitality again. There's a lot of data now, and we all know the big battle is that government says that hospitality has caused the transmission, where hospitality again and again presents the data that the transmission rates in hospitality is so low. I mean, it used to be, when we were all open, about 2 or 3%. Whereas you go along the high street and you see all sorts of so-called essential shops, and I question whether those are essential shops, open and people moving around. But hospitality has invested so much, with so much genuine care and commitment, to install safe processes and tangible protections in their venues. You are safe in a hospitality venue that is well managed, and I think hospitality people would agree. If there's a hospitality venue that is not following the rules, then shut them down. Just be dramatic and shut them down, but allow the ones that are following the rules and investing huge amounts of money and training and care and commitment, and sometimes having to bear the brunt, the staff having to bear the brunt of very unreasonable people who abuse them. Hospitality needs to be taken into account. Vaccinations, the investment that hospitality businesses have made at their own costs to do this, and the genuine care and concern that they have for their customers. I think you're a lot safer inside a hospitality venue than you are in a lot of places that people are visiting.
Absolutely agreed. And like you said earlier, this time has put hospitality and food service on a platform like it has done with other industries. And I'm aware that there have been a record number of applications for people to go into nursing or to study medicine because of the platform that was given. And I was wondering your thoughts whether we would in hospitality see a similar sort of uptake, because it's always something that we're mindful of trying to get young people to come into the hospitality world, which we're passionate about and adore, but it doesn't always get the right, tell the right story or get the right sort of give the right sort of impression. And I wondered if you thought now, after all the action we've been involved in, literally, whether we would see an uptake in interest.
That's a great question, and I've really got sort of two distinct minds on that. One is, I totally agree with you that people that work in hospitality have a passion for hospitality. Those outside of hospitality don't understand us at all as to how we can work long hours and do what we do. But there's other industries that work long hours as well. I've got a family member who's a lawyer, and I've never seen this person work so hard on Zooms all the time. And so hospitality isn't the only hard-working industry, but you've got to have passion for it. And I'm always looking out for people whose parents may say, I don't know what John's going to do. He doesn't want to. And I said, can I have a chat with him? Because it's the person who has this innate attitude and personality that develops into a passion that will do so well in hospitality. And we all know that the rise up the ladder in hospitality can be very, very fast. I so remember we had a luggage porter at the Churchill who displayed these attributes. And I said to him, we need to move you. And we moved him. So he was only a luggage porter for a short amount of time, but suddenly he'd been promoted and promoted again. So the rise up of in hospitality can be very, very fast. You need the passion to go into it, and hopefully those passionate people can't wait to get back. But you're right. How do we bring other people back into hospitality, especially with Brexit, where apparently we've lost so many people? I think we need to understand how to perhaps sell our industry better, seek out more people, give them opportunities. There's wonderful organizations that are doing great jobs at the moment. One of them is Umbrella Training, which has this fantastic apprenticeship program, which targets people who are a bit lost and not knowing what to do. And they will help them through apprenticeship programs. Springboard does a great job in its career scope program, where they help people go through mock interviews and help them with their CVs. We know it's a wonderful industry to be in. We just have to continue to convince parents, careers people in hotels, who I always called the gatekeepers. They're the gatekeepers to our industry, and not letting their children come into our world. But it's a wonderful world. I think leading on from that, there's another challenge with the hotel schools at the moment, and I understand that some of the students are looking at other industries, now. So a lot of them have elected to stay onto the schools onto master's programs, which I suppose delays their coming out into the workforce. But we really hoteliers need to work hard at working with hotel schools on this to ensure that there's terrific engagement between the industry and the sources of our future employees, which is hotel schools themselves, colleges. We've got to get out there and just be disciples, ambassadors for our industry. It doesn't suit everyone, but boy, it's a wonderful industry once you get into it and rise up very, very, very quickly.
Absolutely. And I think when you say the passion piece, I think I always was confused about, what specific passion do you need to have? Because if you're passionate about beautiful places, about amazing people, about great food, then I think that pretty much ticks the boxes on most people. So that's the passion piece ticked. But also, I think we forget that you can be a solicitor or an accountant or an architect and be in hospitality. You don't, it's not only that you have to be a waitress or it's far broader than that. And I do think sometimes the conversations or the messaging that we put out is a bit too narrow, and that people don't realize that it is actually all of these other things as well. So yes, different, getting into schools, getting into a different conversation way of thinking will definitely, and like you say, being able to have this platform that we've now, because of the pandemic, we always knew our platform was there and that it was an essential one, but it's just been highlighted in a totally different way. So hopefully that will then change the narrative and the conversation that we have with the world. Fingers crossed.
You're so right, Lauren, about the diversity of jobs you can do in hospitality. I mean, I used to say running a hotel is like running a small town. I mean, there's an awful lot of jobs you go through before you get to the obvious ones, which is cooking great food and serving fine food. I mean, you've got marketing, engineering, accountancy, legal, compliance, branding. When you run a hotel, you run a village or a town, and there's so many opportunities there for people who don't necessarily want to cook or
No.
serve food. But you can get into these asset management, property, everything. So, but it's such a fun industry as well. We have so much fun as long as the asset managers and the accountants allow the general managers to lead their teams as a hotelier should, working closely with the people, being visible. It's a big thing for me at the moment. Where are the general managers? You know, they're being locked in their offices, not because they want to be locked in their offices, but by the people running their businesses who, with all due respect, know very little about hospitality. You know, there's the asset manager. I'm going to probably upset a few people here. The asset manager, the accountants, you know, who get these general managers writing endless reports about what happened yesterday and trying to forecast what's going to happen tomorrow. Whereas the GM should, for part of his time, a significant part of his time, be out and about, feeling the vibe in the hotel, feeling why Jane on reception is unhappy. Why is she unhappy? Asking the right questions. Oh, you know, we didn't allow her to have an extended holiday for a personal family situation we've got. Why? You know, is this going to pull the place down? No, I mean, the GM's got to be out there. He's got to be listening. He's got to be speaking. He's got to be with his team. Yeah. One of the best things I say we ever did at the Churchill was Friday night, when the management team would deliberately go down the Carpenter's Arms, because we knew that's where all the hotel employees were gathering for a Friday night drink. They were the best times. It cost us a few drinks, but that's okay. We learned a lot. We learned a lot about the vibe of the hotel and what's irking the employees and what's making them happy. And they got to see us as well, and you know, could have a bit of a moan and things like that. So vital to actually be out there amongst your team.
It's brilliant that you say running a hotel is sort of like running a small a village or a community, because hotels sit so importantly in the center of so many communities. And I think even more so now with localism, focus on localism, on staycations, and on engaging local communities, because we can't just wait for the airplanes to land and the people to get off and come straight to our hotels. We're having to look at communities differently and engage those, because that's what keeps the regular footfall and the lights and water on. And I suppose that's where your other hat comes in really, really well with EHMA, and how, you know, you are a community, a global community of hoteliers and hotels who are there supporting each other, who are there giving opportunities. And I wonder if you could share a bit more about what EHMA is. And I think now with Brexit, with everyone trying to carve bits out, you're pulling bits together. So it's quite refreshing. So I don't know if you give us a bit more on that.
Sure, Lauren. First of all, though, community, that's the other key word. I totally agree with you. It's so important for a hotel to get in amongst its community. It's so important. You don't necessarily see the immediate return on investment for hosting, you know, a local community group or something like that. But boy, does it resonate through the community that you are a supportive neighbor in that community. I've always said we take a lot out of communities. You know, we're noisy. You know, the bottle bag comes at 7 o'clock in the morning, clatter, 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 wakes everybody up. There's a taxi rank outside, there's traffic coming all the time. We take a lot out of communities, and hoteliers should give something back to communities. But the great thing is that it may take a while, but you'll get financial payback for it. So that's important. And EHMA, you're right, EHMA, the European Hotel Managers Association, is one such community that suddenly has got a fantastic role to play, especially with Brexit. And there's no borders or tariffs or anything like that with EHMA. We're a free trade organization, single market. There's 400 of us now. all the way from the UK to Russia. I think our easternmost member is in Moscow. The UK community is pretty small, and I'm really seeking to grow that. And the prospect of becoming an EHMA member, it does give you immediate access to that community of other hoteliers right across the world. When I was with Hyatt in the Churchill, I would often go into the membership when I needed help in a city where Hyatt didn't have a hotel, and I found it invaluable. I needed a room when the city was full. I needed to exchange a staff member, and they were looking for opportunities. I just get onto the EHMA member, and they would open doors. They would never say no unless they can help it. So it's a great community. There's a need for growth for the UK. I've often felt that I think there's so many associations that hoteliers can belong to, that here comes yet another one, or what's EHMA? But it is this community of hotels that can be of real help when you need it. There's also the education element of, we have an annual conference every year, and we go to that, and there's tremendous takeaways from experts in various fields of hospitality. Technology is the big one at the moment. So we're about to launch a series of keynote online sessions for EHMA members with the Lausanne Hotel School, and there will be an online session purely on technology, because boy, that's going to change our world. And we better. I'm not a great techno whiz, but you know the sort of questions through listening to these forums that you need to talk to your IT guy about, to make sure we're ahead of the game. So yeah, EHMA is good, needs to be stronger in the UK. I'm first to admit that. So anybody listening wants to become an EHMA member, I'm here and ready to talk to you.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, our EP exposure and experience with EHMA has been really great, especially, I suppose, twofold. One, from a knowledge share perspective, being able to access different knowledge from across the globe so easily. I mean, that is when you say collaboration and everyone trying to work out how to fix, get out, do the best. I mean, that when you've got a group invested and the knowledge share is on a kind and considerate basis with no ulterior motives but to support, then that's hugely invaluable. And then the other side is I suppose from other businesses who are looking to build relationships with hoteliers around the world. It's a great place, a one-stop shop to be able to do that and be able to reach out. And thank you to you for all the support you've given us and partners we've worked with, because that's been a really valuable tool for them as well. And again, as we grow and go and hopefully get out of all of this, then that collaboration piece still stays at the heart of it all, because I can't see us coming out of this without collaboration. And I don't think anybody really wants to go back to the sort of divided atmosphere as it was sort of pre-COVID. So maybe COVID wasn't only a bad thing. I might get into trouble for saying that.
Oh no, people have actually said that, haven't they? So. But just to pick up on the point for EP, Lauren, and yeah, a huge thank you for what you're doing to help bring EHMA to the fore and to show what it can do. And you've certainly allowed some key EHMA national delegates, as we call ourselves, to come onto your forums and to give the perspective from that part of the world. Interestingly enough, a very live example was that I was listening on Radio 4 this morning, and they interviewed the Greek tourism minister, and he was feeling quite positive, and apparently are already in talks with the government about allowing UK travellers into Greece if they've been vaccinated. I think that was the gist of it. So I just sent a quick note. We have a platform called Beekeeper, which is a communication platform. I sent a note to Panos, who's been on your EP sessions, the national delegate for Greece, and said, hey, try and get this interview online. Again, sharing information, giving a bit of hope to the Greek hoteliers, and hopefully the British travelers, you know, that perhaps, you know, with a vaccination record or whatever, or passport, whatever we want to call it, you know, international travel may be here sooner than rather than later. Let's hope so.
Yes, and on that hope front, that's a brilliant place for us to end. Thank you so much, Michael. Always such a pleasure to chat to you. And yes, fingers crossed that we can have a socially distanced cup of tea sometime very, very soon, and that we all get this great staycation
I'll
market.
drink to that.
Absolutely. We'll see you soon. Thank you again. Stay well.
Pleasure. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.